Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Dr. Evans and Lady Bernetta for this opportunity. Morning Star is continuing the celebration of Women's History Month. I am joined by a panel of clinicians who are women, and we will be discussing COVID-19. Who are we? My esteemed panelists are nurse practitioner Lolita Samuels, family nurse practitioner Jasmine Simpson, and myself, Dr. Muriel Celestin Raphael. I oversee quality of care issues for the state of New Jersey at a multinational healthcare enterprise. And we will be joined shortly by Dr. Brandis Belt, Assistant Director of the Robert Wood Johnson Somerset Family Residency Program. Let us start with a brief recap of what we are living in today. As of March 22nd, there have been 650 new coronavirus deaths, and 55,641 new cases were reported in the US. Over the past week, there has been an average of 54,193 cases per day. This is a decrease of 8% from the average 2 weeks earlier. As of Tuesday afternoon, 29,923,700 people in the US have been infected with the coronavirus. The statistics are alarming, but they are better than where we were late last year. Our panelists know this all too well and will be updating us on the pandemic, its challenges, some highlights, vaccines, and the vaccination process with respect to their place of work. Each panelist will have 3 minutes to speak to us about this. I ask you who are listening tonight to line up in the chat room, submit your questions, and we'll get to as many as we can. Let us begin with our first segment. Nurse Lolita Samuel, nurse practitioner Jasmine Simpson, please join me.
Thank you, Dr. Raphael. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lolita Samuel. I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm an adult nurse practitioner. I work down at the Cancer Institute of New Jersey, across the street from Robert Wood Johnson. We have the same concerns as everyone else about the coronavirus itself and the vaccines that are there. I did create a chart and hope that I could send it to someone, that it could be disseminated to people in there who are willing to have it or wanting to have it in it. It gives a nice comparison about the different vaccines that are currently on the market and what they suggest for us as users and the people who are receiving them. So the 4 vaccines that are available right now are from AstraZeneca, a pharmaceutical company, Pfizer, Moderna, and of course Johnson & Johnson. And to date right now, Johnson & Johnson seems to be the most favored, primarily because it has the least amount of side effects and it only requires 1 injection. And their injection, you get pretty good onset of protection from it. It only 14 days after the shot that you would get your protection started, versus the other 3 where it can take anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks to have protection from that vaccine, depending on when you get the vaccine. The other 3 as well, you need to get 2 shots. So you get your first shot, and then you would need to get the second shot anywhere between 14 days or up to 28 days. And so that is a drawback for some people. There are also significant side effects with these vaccines. In the AstraZeneca vaccines, you can get pain at the injection site. You can also get symptoms in the rest of your body. You can get headaches, tiredness, muscle aches, fevers, chills, joint aches, and nausea. What's important to know about this particular company and the other 2 companies that have similar side effects is that if you were previously exposed to the virus itself, meaning that you had some symptoms from the virus before having these vaccines, you are likely going to have some symptoms when you get your first shot from these vaccines from AstraZeneca, Pfizer, and Moderna. And then when you go to your second shot, you're still going to get another set of side effects from it. So a lot of people are concerned that they have to get the 2 shots in there, but at this point in time, because it's being disseminated by the government, you don't have a choice of what you get. It's what's available is what you will be getting. Recently, just tonight, I read the New York Times article, and the AstraZeneca is still kind of struggling with theirs. They had said that they had a 79% efficiency of preventing further incidents in there, and then they had to revise it now to 76%. So they're still kind of in the rough edges about refining theirs. The cost is not relevant to us really, or to the patient, because the government is paying for it. So really, you don't have to really worry about the cost. You find a place to sign up and go get your vaccine, and the government takes care of it. But you have to know that when you go to get your vaccine, you take whatever they give you. You don't have a choice at this point in time. The most convenient one to have, obviously, is the Johnson & Johnson one. Is just 1 shot. And you don't have to go back again after that. The others, you do have to go back for those in there. And so people have concerns about that. But at this point, they're actually taking what they can get. I'll stop there for now and let someone else have a chance until later.
Thank you so much. We can continue with family nurse practitioner Jasmine Simpson.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jasmine. I'm a family nurse practitioner, and I work at Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital in Somerset. I actually work in the division of gynecology oncology. So I work in an outpatient cancer center, and we also do inpatient consultations inside of the hospital. So Lolita educated everybody on the vaccines, and I'm not a vaccine expert. So I wanted to talk to you all about just kind of backtracking on last year in the hospitals and how things have changed now. So we know that beginning of the pandemic, operating rooms were closed. Hospitals, well, not hospitals, but doctors' offices were closed, and people were really afraid to seek care. And, you know, working in oncology, our patients couldn't have surgery, and this affected both, you know, treatment options as well as cancer outcomes. We know that visitors were not allowed in the hospitals, which really made it challenging to communicate with family members in a timely fashion. And so, you know, being a provider and going into the hospitals to do consultations, you did receive some heat from family members, because as a consulting provider, you called the family members to kind of give them an update on why you were involved in the patient's care. And then you found out that no one had ever even contacted the family at all. They had no idea what was going on. So this was really challenging for both patients, their family members, but also healthcare providers as well. You know, also working with oncology patients, there was heightened anxiety due to patients being immunocompromised. And we really had to make adjustments on how we provided care. There was much more education on infection, and, you know, you have to stay away from people who are sick, and you have to wear your mask all the time, and nobody can come visit you at home. You know, that's stressful for a patient who's already dealing with so many other issues. But now, fast forward, we are able to see patients and provide standard of care. Now, obviously, patients are still very anxious, but are becoming more comfortable with seeking care, because we also found that due to everything being shut down last year, a lot of medical issues were unaddressed because people were afraid to seek care. So now we're kind of dealing with everything that has been delayed, but we are providing quality care. And also, you know, now that the vaccines are available, we are experiencing high call volumes from patients who are basically demanding to be vaccinated. And, you know, unfortunately at my job, we're not able to just place a patient at the top of the list because they have a cancer or because they have another comorbid condition. So, you know, we are still advising patients to register with the New Jersey State website and register for the vaccine, register for an appointment at any of the vaccine clinics. So that's where we are now. And also the hospitalization, the numbers of the COVID inpatient hospitalizations are much lower. So we do feel more safe. I'll say that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Has Dr. Belt joined us as of yet? Okay. Well, I'll speak to my frame of reference working at an HMO, and I handle all of the quality of care issues and critical incidents in the state of New Jersey for the population that we most service, which are the elderly. So this year, between last year and this year, I would say I saw a 300% increase in cases. And this was due to what we consider and what we classify as unexpected deaths. And so these were mostly all due to COVID-19. And the elderly population was hit hard nationwide in nursing homes and long-term facilities. So about 31,000 nursing homes and other long-term facilities reported cases. So more than 1.3 million residents and employees of those homes were infected through late February, and more than 172,000 have died. So this has become an issue of angst, and it's also an issue that is under investigation for a few states because of the way that they reacted to the pandemic. So there are a lot more safety issues and policies in play, I would say now, because we know what we're dealing with. So we're not so much in the shock phase, we're more in the go phase, in the work phase, and trying to get through this pandemic. It created a perfect storm in these facilities. And so now a lot of these vulnerable people have been vaccinated, which brought down the numbers. We also saw a rise in multi-generational homes, and that's where the grandparents live. So parents and grandchildren live together. This demographic is a high percentage, especially in minority households. Many grandparents were getting sick by coming into contact with high traffic households and or grandchildren who were teenagers or older. So today, a great deal of our elderly are vaccinated, are on list to do so. We can do more. Encourage your elderly friend or family member to get vaccinated. I also urge you to get vaccinated as well, that you can protect yourself and the older family members in your family and people that you love. I know I'm looking forward to hugging my parents and spending Friday, and my kids are looking forward to spending Friday nights with two of their best friends. So what you can do going forward is get tested. If you feel you've come into contact with someone that has been exposed to COVID-19, get vaccinated, get on the list, like Jasmine said, and know which vaccines you're dealing with, as Lolita has already spoken about. I know a lot of people, like Lolita referenced, want to take the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, but you don't necessarily have a choice when you go to your provider or when you go to the COVID-19 vaccination center. Any vaccine is better than no vaccine at all. Social distance. Please continue to social distance. I know people are getting, pandemic fatigue. We still have to wear our masks. We still have to wash our hands. We still we still have to exercise, everything that we've been doing to keep ourselves healthy. So exercise, eat healthy, and be patient. We're starting to see the light. Is Dr. Belt in as of yet?
Yes, I'm here. Can you see me?
Yes.
Hello? Hi,
Yes,
I'm
for
sorry.
joining us. Hi.
I'm sorry. I was seeing patients and someone showed up at the very last minute.
Well, see, you're the definition of what we were talking about today, on the front lines and helping to stamp out this pandemic and seeing our members. And we thank you for joining us and the rest of the panel. If you could add anything to this conversation, it would be more than welcome, so we can educate our listeners and our Morningstar family.
Well, thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. To be honest, I feel like things have gone in 3 or 4 phases. Around this time last year, I work in a residency program attached to a hospital. So we have residents, med students, and family practitioners, and everyone was freaking out. So I did the COVID team in April of last year, and I was nervous. I couldn't sleep the night before because I was so nervous about the patients I was going to see, the way we're going to have to do this, and not knowing enough about this illness. And I remember taking so many chances and not knowing, being able to put in context, like people couldn't come to the hospital. And I think that's something that we don't talk enough about, is when you actually do get sick with this, you might be in the hospital by yourself completely. People cannot touch you. You might not get the services that you need because you can't go for a CT scan. You can't go for an MRI because they're trying to quarantine those things off in the hospital. So in April, I would have patients dying that would not be able to say goodbye to family because there were no visitors allowed in the hospital. So I was terrified. I was very nervous when I did the COVID team in April. I feel like over the summer, we got sort of lazy because our numbers went up and then came back down. And then we got sort of showed what the result of that was over the winter, when, and someone's calling me right now, I'm sorry. But over the winter, we saw the results of that negligence that had started in the summer and the fall. So right now, I keep getting calls from people about where can I get vaccinated, when can I get vaccinated. Unfortunately, it's not happening as quickly as we would hope. I hope everyone knows, how to get. I mean, luckily, Morningstar, there was, my husband even said, like, people have been so great about getting the vaccine as it's been available to us, but not everyone's been so fortunate to get it. So me and my husband are both essential workers, so we've had one dose of the vaccine, but we haven't had the second one. And at first, I was on the fence. I was not about to get this Operation Warp Speed thing. I was not a happy
I was
person
there with
jumping
you.
off to get this vaccine. I told the secretaries in the front, I said, not in this arm, not Operation Warp Speed. And the whole way that it was presented, I think, was problematic to me. But as I learned more about it, and as time went on and I started to see the devastation that this causes, then I changed my mind. I think that I was happy to look into it a little bit more because I can help patients when when they have some trepidation about the whole, about the vaccine. It is something to be concerned about and take carefully, to measure for yourself, like, is this right? But for most people, I would think getting the vaccine is a good thing to do. And it's recommended to get whatever vaccine you're able to get, because to be in the hospital by yourself, no family,
Long-term facility, nursing homes.
by yourself, with no
Mhm.
one to advocate for you, no one to visit you, and all of the rest of the larger systemic problems we're seeing with COVID, I think that the vaccine is our best bet. I mean, so I changed my mind about that. I'm willing to answer any questions that people have about why I changed my mind and I'm getting the vaccine.
Mhm.
So that's just what I wanted to say. That's why.
Mhm. And I will answer those at the later part of the segment. But also, Pastor had a wonderful question for all of us to answer. And since you're here, I'll ask you the second part of our segment, since we're celebrating, this is Women's Month, the month of March. And as a woman in healthcare and medicine, and of course, the STEM studies, who was your greatest influence when it came to choosing this calling, or your greatest influence overall?
My mom, and she's not in medicine at all, but it's my mom 100%. I'll keep the story short, but she said if you're in the right place at the right time, you could do amazing things. And she made it sound like you could be someone's hero if you just step up to the plate. So I thought to myself, how can I be the most help to the most people as effectively as possible? And she said, you know, you'll be great at it. You'll do a good job. She just made me promise a couple of things. She said, I promise you that you'll always call your adult patients by their last name, and you always treat them with respect. So I do my best. I always try to. I remember she told me some bad stories of how people close to her and people in our family have been treated by doctors at times. So I try to behave. But it's my mom. It's my mom
Mhm.
really the one who encouraged me the most. And she's not in medicine. She's, she worked hard and influenced me the most.
I'd probably have to say the same thing. I'm gonna try to get through this real quick without tearing up, because anybody asks me about my parents, I just become a total wreck because they're the most influential people in my family, to me in my life. My parents came here and sent for their family to start a better life. And my mom became a beautician and later on became a nurse. And everyone around me tells me that from the age of 4, I've always said I wanted to be a doctor. But to see my mom in service and provide services to others was quite influential in the lives of myself and my sister, and especially later on when she became a nurse. That influenced us very much so. And I'd have to say, the same answer. It was definitely my mother. She was a great influence when it came to a lot of things in my life, but especially pursuing my love of medicine as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Belt. We are going to see if nurse practitioner Lolita will answer the same question, and then we'll follow up with family nurse practitioner Jasmine Simpson, and then we'll bring everybody back on to answer any of the questions. So we ask everyone that's watching to please put your questions in the chat so that we can answer them right after Nurse Jasmine and Nurse Lolita answer our questions about who influenced them, who is their overall influence in their lives, what woman or what person influenced them in pursuing this particular career. Because as we all know, although we may know people that are in this profession, I'm sure Dr. Bell can attest to this, when you're in the school, when you're in the residency program, when you're walking the halls of the hospital, when you're in that office, there's not a lot of us that look like like us. And so when I do see other sisters, other brothers, giving the soul brother number 5 if it's far away, or the head nod to acknowledge them and to show them some appreciation, because it does take a lot, even when we see a lot of these hospitals that are in the areas that serve us inside, is not necessarily the case. So I don't know if nurse practitioner Lolita is on.
I am.
Excellent. Would you, same question, please?
Same questions, but I'm gonna leave my Shiro's name out until the end, and you guys will figure. I actually have 2, but I'm going to speak primarily to one. So this person was born in the Caribbean island, a small Caribbean island in the West Indies, and she was the first child to her father and the second child to her mother. She was the only child they had together. She lived basically with her father's family and was the eldest grandchild at the time, and became caretaker for her grandmother on her father's side and her younger cousins. She was also the helper for their farm work. She was often missing school because they took her out of school to become caretaker for her grandmother and her younger cousins. And that really, really upset her a lot. Her total schooling was probably about the value of a 6th to 8th grade education. With the exception of her father and her grandmother, she became the workhorse of the family, and she was abused when she was in those fields, working those fields. She was once taken to court by one of her uncles when she was a late teenager because she had taken a breadfruit off of a tree in his yard to make dinner for his own mother, who was her grandmother at the time. And the judge dismissed it and chastised him for doing that. Thank you, Lord. So she had her first child as a teenager, and later she got married and had a second child. The marriage ended because her husband was physically abusing her. It was so bad she couldn't take it anymore. So in the middle of the night, one night, she put her two boys on the back of a donkey and packed a little bag for them. And she walked quite a big distance to get to her father's house. When she got there, her stepmother, who her father had married when she was 9 years old, and the stepmother didn't want to have anything to do with her, turned her away from the house when she showed up with the two babies. Anyway, people in the village helped her, and she eventually got a hold of her dad, who helped her get some property, and she helped her to build her own house. She also became an entrepreneur where she opened up a little store and a bar, and she did something for herself before she moved on. She then went on to have more kids, obviously. So she had a total of 8 children that she was taking care of by herself and managing her house. So she stayed in this small village. She continued to work, do her little shop. And with the guidance of her father, and she purchased her house, purchased the land and built her house. And then eventually she had the opportunity to come to the United States. She was successful what she was doing there, but she decided she wanted to do more for her children because she didn't want them to have to go through what she had gone through. So when she came to the United States, she came here in 1972, and she took advantage of an offer from her sister who invited her to come here. When she got here, she started working right away, and she worked 3 jobs to be able to support herself here in an apartment in a project, and then to support her children back home while she was saving to get a house of her home here in the United States. Within 3 years of being here, she was able to purchase a home. And some years later, she was able to migrate the 5 remaining children, her younger children and some grandchildren here to the United States. She struggled a lot to meet her bills for her children and grandchildren, but you would never know. She was taking care of a household of 14 people, including the children and the grandchildren. And she had children in private and public school that she was caring for. Nobody knew a whole lot of this for a long time. I'm almost done. So she became an Avon representative, not by choice. My sister put her into it. And she had a whole lot of other things that she did to earn her money productively. She would then stress to her children that her goal for them is to get an education. That was what she stressed to them all the time, so they wouldn't have to work as hard as she did in life. So this woman, Josephine Amelia Alita Samuel Patterson, is my Shira. She's my mama. And her determination to do and be better, her resilience to stay the course of her goals, to give to others even when she didn't have enough, and could trust God to provide for his will and his way. She took her vacations to go back home to connect with her family and give others and forgive them. She gave her life to God when her youngest child went to high school. That would be myself. My mama, Josephine Amelia Samuel Patterson, is my Shiro. Thank you.
So I would have to choose my former pageant coach. She did not work in healthcare, but this woman had such a tremendous influence on my life at the tender age of 12 and 13. So she was a minister, a wife, a full-time mom. She had a full-time job, and for many, many years, more than I can count, she volunteered about 4 to 5 months every year to help coach young girls between the ages of, I think, 11 to 17. She coached us on how to win pageants. And this was not a beauty pageant. It was Hal Jackson's Talented Teens competition. And it's a talent competition, but it was more than just about talent. Like, we were a family, and week after week, she would pour into us and let us know, how great we were, how much greatness was inside of us. And she helped us become our best selves. And she pushed us, pushed you so much, and you didn't even know how much you really had inside of you until you met this woman. And, regardless of your socioeconomic status, some of us came from a 2-parent family household, some people didn't even have any parents and they were raised by a grandparent or an aunt. But when we were together, that did not matter. And the day of the competition, whatever we needed for the pageant, a dress, a gown, shoes, like no one went without. And I think about, you know, in my career, I strive every day to be the best nurse practitioner I can be. And, you know, we're multitasking, we're, you know, involved in church and you're involved in work and trying to take care of your home. So I pay homage to her during this Women's History Month. And she's somebody that I will never forget. And she's still alive, so I can tell her.
Well, it's best to give everybody their flowers while they're still here. It's wonderful to hear these stories about the women that have shaped who we are today for a life of service, because servitude is the greatest thing that you can do. A life of service is exactly emulating Jesus, who came to serve us. So I thank you all for your service. I thank you all for your bravery. I thank you all for staying the course during this pandemic. We will continue to pray for you and all of our women that are on the front line and everyone else that's on the front line, and lift you up and ask God to continue to keep you strong and healthy. Thank you so much for joining me on this panel. And now I'm going to ask if we have any questions in the chat that we can answer.
Yes, Doc, we do. First question is, this person says they got their first shot, Moderna, on February 26th. Scheduled for the second Moderna shot March 26th, which is tomorrow. But what if I elected to get J&J for a second shot? Any issues there?
Yeah.
The only thing I would, sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, this is a small point, but the only thing I would say is when you are slated to have a shot on a certain day, make sure that you tell them that you're not going to show up to get it, because they, it's sort of like when we put in IUDs, you have your particular IUD that is for you, just like you have they have a certain number of vaccines and it needs to be given that day. So if not given to you, it will go to waste that day. So if there's any way for you to make sure that vaccine goes to someone tomorrow, either by calling them to tell them that you won't be showing up, or sometimes you can even find someone else to take it for you, if they would allow that. That's the only thing I was going to mention.
I'd like to add to that. When I spoke earlier, that I mentioned that when you show up, you really don't have a choice. So if you already started one series, and they have it recorded and you have a card, you are likely going to be encouraged to complete that series. And the J&J one is still in shipping from a lot of the places. Not all of it is fully shipped as yet, so it might not be readily available. But you don't really get a choice per se, unless you have a severe circumstance why you can't have a particular one in there. You pretty much get what they have available. And if you started one series, they would likely encourage you to finish that series.
And I would encourage you to just get vaccinated, because there's a lot of people that are waiting and they're not able to. So like Dr. Brandis Belt said, you wouldn't want that vaccine to go to waste. And you were not being able to get a vaccine later on. Any other questions, Minister Fuller?
Let's see.
Yay.
Okay, that person said greatly appreciate the services. Thank you, blessings. Okay, I have one question before we let you guys go. Here's my question. My mom gets her second dose tomorrow. I get my second dose Saturday. How long should I don't want to say stay away, but how long should I before I visit? What would you say? You know, I'm going to have on a mask, and she is too. But how long before you think I would be like, okay, Terry, it's okay to go see your mother?
From what I've heard, from what studies have shown, the likely answer is 2 weeks. That's what I've heard. 2 weeks is when you will be covered. Before that, it is up for grabs. 2 weeks is what I've heard.
Okay.
Yes,
That's what-
I've heard 2 weeks.
That's what I would have. Well,
That is,
yeah.
that's correct.
Awesome. Thank you.
2 weeks. So then you can go see your mom and have a hug.
Awesome.
Once again, thank you, ladies, for joining me this evening. It was a pleasure, and it was my honor to share this segment with you. Lastly, if you are in healthcare or you have an interest and you'd like to serve on our ministry, there's a health and wellness ministry. Please be sure to contact myself or Brene Williams, and we'd be happy to have you. We have big things planned for this year, and we want to be a service to our church, especially during this time. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Everyone have a safe and blessed weekend, and we'll see you Sunday. Please hear these announcements.
Ooh, I wanted to add something.
Oh, sure. I
just wanted to add a couple more tidbits for the vaccine that I'm not sure that a lot of patients are aware of it. I get this question a lot. A lot of patients ask me, can they have their flu shot when they get their COVID shot? And the answer is like, we don't usually recommend doing that. That they should be spaced apart. Also, they should get their flu shot, but they definitely should have it a significant distance apart from when they get their COVID shot. They should still follow all of the regular precautions. So they think that after they get their shot, they don't have to wear the mask and whatnot anymore. They still have to wear it while their protection is being built up, all of that. And they still should go through all of the regular precautions in general, not just the mask, and this, so the hand washing, and the social distancing and all of that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you all Sunday.
See you Sunday. Have a great.
Be blessed.
Thank you.